What's up, amigos? Welcome to Think Builder. Today I'm going to show you guys how to wire and set up this timer for your do-yourself exposure units, or to replace a broken timer you have on your current exposure unit. So let's get started. Now, this is actually a remake of a previous video I made on how to do this timer, but looking at that video, I realized that it needs some improvements, so I'm going to make a new one, explaining it better. So today I'm actually going to show you guys 3 ways to wire this timer. One way is to handle, example, you have a floodlight that comes with the wires loose. I'll show you guys how to do that way. As well, if your floodlight or whatever light source you're using comes with the plug and you don't want to cut this, I'm going to show you guys how to do it using an outlet. And the third way it's going to do it is I'm going to show you guys in case your LED strips come with an AC DC adapter, like the one I have for my current do-yourself exposure unit. So I'm going to show you guys those 3 ways. Before we get started, if you have a do-yourself exposure unit, I highly recommend you get a timer, man. This will help you a lot in the long run, because before I had this, what I used to do was I would just plug it in and take time with my cell phone, and it's not always accurate. And if you're using like a white floodlight, a few seconds off won't be that much of a difference. But if you're using ultraviolet light, UV light, a lot of people, they get times to expose, less than a minute, man. Some even like between 10-20 seconds. So a second will make a big difference. So it is very important to have a timer to make things easier and simple. I'll leave a link to this in the description. I can't remember exactly how much it cost me, but I think it was like around like $13. Not really sure, but just check the link. Very, very affordable. Okay, so let me first start by explaining in a diagram. So here's a timer. I can make a little sketch, and it has 4 slots. Let me write down the labels: VCC, G and D, S1 and S2. Okay, so we're looking from the back. Okay, from the back. Now, so these 2 first slots, the VCC and the G and D, that is just to power the timer, and just the timer alone. Has nothing to do with your light. So here's what we're doing. Pretend this is your plug, and you have your 2 wires. We'll put this one as hot, and this one's the neutral. So the hot comes into the first slot. This comes and connects to the G and D. So right now the timer is connected. So first we're going to start with floodlight, or whatever light source you're using comes with the wires like this. So let's make another diagram of your little floodlight. You have 2 wires coming out. This has 3, but one's the ground, but we don't need that. Like, you might connect it yourself, but since my house doesn't have grounding, doesn't have a ground wire, there's no point. Anyways, you need part of the hot cable. Let's jump this wire so you can power the light. So remember, the hot is going directly to the light. The neutral, this part's gonna be like the switch. So basically you could split this here, this neutral, connected to S1, have another cable coming out from S2 to the light source. So this one's the hot, and this is the neutral, as well as this neutral as well. So one more time, you got hot and neutral going to the timer directly. You have the hot splitting and going directly to the light source. You have another neutral here. It gets split, so it could go to S1. Have another wire coming out from S2 that will connect to the neutral for their light source to complete the cycle. So let's begin. I got my plug here. That's gonna go to the wall. It's just this cable right here. Timer. All right, so let's get started. So here's the timer. Got my cable ready for my plug. So let's start. I'm gonna use this one as the hot. So again, I need to get one to go to the timer as well to the light. So I got this already. Timer. Okay. There. Oh my god. That's done. Now we need another cable that will go to the light source here. Okay. And like I mentioned, this has to be connected with the hot as well. So let's join these. So there, we got this step done right here. Now it's time for the neutral. Like I mentioned, here in the diagram, the neutral will split and go into those two middle slots. So what I decided to do was I grabbed this and I'm going to connect it to the neutral on this one together. That way it could be two wires. So now this are going to go in the middle slots, the two middle ones. There. Now, okay, now the last neutral that will connect to here, to the last slot. And finally to the light. And that's it. So now let's turn this on so you guys check it out. I'm gonna connect this to the wall now. See, we got the timer working. And let's turn it on. There you go. Okay, so when you first get this, it's like gonna have next time. Later on in the video, I'm gonna show you guys how to set it up. But first, let me explain the other two ways of wiring this thing up. So this is method number 2 on how to wire it up. In case your floodlight or whatever light source you're using comes with a plug. When I first got this UV light, I didn't feel like cutting it. It looks nice having like this. I didn't want to, cut it. So here's one way to do it. And the way to do it is using an outlet. So same thing, here's the timer with the 4 slots. This is to power, these two are for to power the timer just alone. This is the neutral that is kind of like a switch for the light. So the way I'm going to do is, we have an outlet here, okay? And we got your plug for your extension cord. This is hot and this is neutral. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the hot to the outlet. Have another cable leaving and going to VCC1. So this is a hot as well. So now the power, the outlet has, the hot wire here, which connects, leaves, and goes to VCC1, the timer. So now this neutral comes, and again it splits, goes to G and D and S1. So at this point the timer has power. Now this cable S2 is gonna leave, jump, and go to the neutral on the outlet. That way you could connect your floodlight, and the timer will be actually controlling the outlet. Okay, so let's get started. Now I was looking at this, actually on this part is the white wire, on this side is for the hot wire. Did a reverse on the image, but that's okay. I'm going to flip it around just so we won't get confused. So again, one's going to come here and go connect to the other. See. Okay. Now let's connect the other hot wire. That will go to the timer. Okay. So now let's connect the other wire that's going to go to the timer. Connect it to this outlet so I can get the power. And for the neutral, do it the same way like I did where I have two cables splitting. Now, if you do have ground wire, you could do that. But like I mentioned, here in Mexico, a lot of houses they don't have ground wires. So right now for me, there's no point in me connecting this because there's none. But if you do have ground wire, I recommend you connect that. But anyways, let's finish the neutral. Okay, so there. So at this point, the timer has power. Now let's connect the last wire. The neutral leaving the timer. And I want to connect to here. And there. So I'm gonna put this in here so we can test it out. I recommend taping this around here. I'm actually gonna tape this off. Better safe than sorry. Okay. Okay. So let's connect this. So the timer turned on. Now let's connect the floodlight. My God, this outlet sucks. Okay. So now turn it on. There you go. Okay, amigos. So before I remove everything and do the method number 3, I'm gonna explain how to set up this timer. Now here we have, this is time 1, this is time 2. Time 1, this one is For example, if I put seconds here, it will give me a countdown for this to turn on. For example, right now, once I turn it on, it turns on automatically, right? Now, if I were to change this, for example, 5 seconds, it will take 5 seconds for the timer to start and the light to turn on. See? But we don't want that. One way to move this, for example, you want to change the setting for time 1. You click on this setting button. Once it's blinking, you use this to move it. If you want that one, you press it again. Once that's blinking, you move it to how many seconds you want. But I'm going to show you guys how to get it that way because there's a lot of ways to have this set up. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it the way I have it. So this timer has these settings. These called the relays. For example, P0, there's 4 options: 0, 1, 2, and 3. 0 is for milliseconds, 1 is for seconds, 2 is for minutes, and 3 is for hours. And unfortunately, you can't have, give me 3 minutes with 30 seconds. If you want a minute with 30 seconds, just choose seconds. It just says set it at 90 seconds. So I'm going to show you guys how to set it up to seconds. So you go to, this time on the setting, you press and hold. It'll give you P0. And this is to change it. And like I mentioned, I'm going to use seconds. I'm going to keep it at 1, P01. And that's what gives me seconds. If you want minutes, just change the 2. You'll have minutes. So we got that step for seconds. I can't remember exactly what P1, what exactly it does. But what we want is P1, 2. So press and hold, press it again, and here's the options, But I choose 2. Like I mentioned, just keep it at P12. P12, that's what you want. There's another relay with P2. It has all kinds of settings, but don't worry about that. That's nothing to do with it. That's something to do with the brightness. I'm not really sure, but ignore that. So just keep it one more time. P01 for seconds. P12. Like I mentioned, P2 settings, don't know exactly what it is, but for me, I just have it on. Have it on option 2. Don't really know what it does, but I noticed that like that, it works fine for me. And another cool thing about this timer is that, for example, if you unplug this, it saves all your settings. It saves the settings for this as well for the time you give it. So you can plug it back in, and it keeps the same settings. So that's one thing I like about this timer. Okay, so this is option number 3 on how to wire this timer. This is if your light source comes with a power AC adapter, which mine did. My LED strips came with an AC adapter, and you could do it the same way, connect it exactly the way I did it for using the outlet, where you just connect your power adapter to the outlet and that's it. But for me, the thing that bothered me was because I didn't like the idea of having the power adapter being controlled by the timer, and I wanted the timer to control just the output of the adapter and not the actual the input of the power going to that adapter. That makes sense. So one way to do it was cutting the cable, but you gotta be careful. Don't want to do it to all the cables because, for example, this old adapter I have for my TV, the wiring is totally different. But on this one, what I did was I cut it. Luckily at the end of each row of the strip, it ends and has another output option. And that was good because what I did was actually end up cutting the wire, and I saw, and it's actually 2 cables, which is good, which led me to cutting. So I'm going to flip this right now and explain how the whole wiring I did it. So here's my diagram that I did. Hopefully it will make sense. But anyways, what I did was, here's the outlet. You got the hot and neutral coming, and this time both of them are connected to the outlet. That way the outlet will always have power. That way my power adapter, I'll connect it there. So got the hot neutral into the outlet, have a hot and neutral coming out and connected to the timer, to 2 slots, you know, that gives power to the timer. And here on this AC adapter, where I cut it, see right here, on this part, I cut it. That way the hot goes directly to, and goes directly to this one, to the black wire, right? So this is right here. And the neutral jumps and goes to S1. Have another cable coming out from S2, jumps and connects to the neutral on this. And this right here is connects to this splitter, and this connects to the LED strips. That way, anyways, well, once I plug it in, this will be on, and the adapter will always be on, and the timer controls the output. Where is it at? The output of, what is it? It controls the output of this coming out the adapter. Closer look so you can see exactly how it works. Let me plug this in. It's upside down. Okay. So like I mentioned, got the cable coming from the outlet, from the wall, going. They both connect to here. I have the hot wire coming out from the outlet, goes to slot 1. Got the neutral coming out and comes here. One thing that's important, always label. Make sure you leave labels on your wires so you can know which cable is which. So right now this is hot and this is on, and I have the adapter plug in. So you guys see. You can see the light. That's because it's on. And here's where I cut it. You see, this is the power coming out of the adapter comes here. I spliced this up. I had the hot wire going directly and connected over here, which connects to the UV strips. The neutral I end up taking over here and going to S1, and S2 is the neutral coming out, comes out and goes to over here. Here's an example of how it works. You turn it on. See? It looks easier to understand on the diagram, because here I have the cables hanging all everywhere. But yeah, see one more time. So those were 3 ways to wire up this timer. And you can figure out, if you have a do-yourself exposure unit, you can figure out how to, you know, arrange everything. Here's another example. So that's all, amigos, for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial how to wire and set up that timer. Again, I'll leave a link to the timer in the description, as well to my UV floodlight and my LED strips. If this video helped out, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like on this video. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments, or you could send me a message on Instagram or Facebook. Any of those platforms will be okay. And let me tell you, amigos, I'll see you guys next time.